Here we go!
Hey Blue Blurs, what is up, what is up, what is up? This is Gamer Blake 90 here to bring y'all another brand new playthrough for my channel. And this one will be for Sonic 4 Episode 1, which admittedly was a highly controversial and short-lived era in the Sonic series for quite a number of reasons, many of which I'll go into detail about as we progress further and further through the series. But anyway, you might be wondering what prompted me to go into this playthrough instead of the other two that I had initially planned to do and that were next in line. Well, as to how that happened, I was planning to do a playthrough with Sonic Time Twisted, which is yet another Sonic fan game, and yes, I know I've been showcasing a lot of those, and that's part of why I wanted to migrate back to the official Sonic games to give them some more love, because I do love playing them just as much, or most of them anyway. But what prompted me to do this series was, one, Sonic Time Twisted refused to run on my desktop PC. It would run on my laptop just fine, but when I tried to record it there, it became a literal slideshow because it was so laggy, and I just could not present a series in that condition. You'll literally never ever see me posting any series that looks remotely laggy to watch because I kind of like it when my videos are presentable. But then, what YouTuber wouldn't? So, I had to put plans for Sonic Time Twisted on the back burner, and as a result, I decided to move on over to Sonic 4 Episode 1 instead. Because, as I said a bit ago, I do want to show some more love to the official Sonic games, as much as I've been showing some love to the Sonic fan games, many of which exist around the community, and all of which are quite fun to play. And of course, another reason that prompted me to do this series instead of, Sonic Time Twisted, was that while going through my older content and removing it from my channel, I accidentally deleted this series, which I had not planned to do at all. So when I realized I made my mistake, I was like, well, crap. Because I just been getting some comments on the special status entry for my first playthrough of Sonic 4 Episode 1, which I'd done back in early 2011, before I put it aside in favor of posting fighting game content. In other words, before I rebranded like years ago, when my channel was way younger. But then again, this all kind of worked out for me because I initially planned to redo this series anyway, so that it would fall in line with what the rest of my content was aiming for. In other words, involving myself more. So, I planned to redo this series anyways, and I guess I should be thankful that the circumstances pushed me to go ahead with it, seeing as I don't know how long it would have taken me before I finally got around to it, right? But anyway, Sonic 4 Episode 1. Definitely a highlight in my Sonic career because I played this game an uncountable number of times back when I just gotten into college, like at the start of the previous decade. And I grinded this game so freaking much that I wound up having people tell me that I found my way into a time attack leaderboard for Sonic 4 Episode 1, including the third act of Mad Gear Zone, which will be the fourth video in this series. So eventually, even 10 years later, my mark on this game has still been left, and that's deeply satisfying to hear. So yeah, here we are at Sonic 4 Episode 1, and we just completed the first act of the first stage in the game, which is also, regrettably, very short, so the second and third acts are a bit more flavorful, and that is Splash Hill Zone. And let me say, for a first level of Sonic game, Splash Hill is forgettable. Like, you look at it and you can just see how jarring it feels to look at from the background. Like, it just feels like Sonic Team just copied and pasted layers upon layers of what's supposed to look like bushes over an oceanic background and then just call it a day. It just doesn't feel like it fits, like it just stands out in a way that makes it look jagged from the far more beautiful ocean backdrop that you can see right there. Like, look at it. You can even see the surfaces of the rocks reflecting off of the ocean surface, and that looks really, really great. The clouds look vividly detailed too, and I definitely love that. I just wish that the foreground of Splash Hill Zone met those expectations just as much, but as it is, Splash Hill feels like somebody just put together a random bunch of watercolor paint and called it, and I was like, I think a little bit more effort could have gone into Splash Hill design than that. And don't get me wrong, it is a fun level, especially when you consider, but it also contains a shout out to Emerald Hill's loop-de-loops like the first one we just passed through, and it also integrates these vines that you can swing off of to the left or right just by tilting the stick rapidly to build up your, well, whichever the proper term is, speed or momentum, whichever you want to use it for, honestly, but I think you get my meaning. The more you swing on the vine, the more it builds up your launch velocity, and you can use it to reach higher areas. Whereas if you aren't quite as good with them, you still have a fairly decent amount of areas to explore at the lower section of Splash Hill Zone Act 2, and that does kind of redeem Splash Hill in my eyes now that I'm thinking about it. And speaking of a lower area, I missed out on the upper area, which I wanted to take, so let's backtrack and go this way instead. There we freaking go. Now, of course, for a game that was supposedly labeled as a potential follow-up to the legacy left behind by the classic Sonic series, I'm sorry to say it, but this game does not succeed in carrying out that promise. For one, you have modern Sonic's moveset in Sonic 4 Episode 1, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. You have an air dash and a homing attack like I demonstrated just a bit ago, and the homing attack saw quite a bit of a buff here as it contained a targeting reticle for the use of Sonic 4. And I don't think that that thing existed for the homing attack in like the Sonic games that came before Unleashed. It probably existed in 06, but seeing as I never finished 06 entirely, I can't truly say. Also, by the way, if you finish with a score of at least 10,000 points, you'll add an extra life to your counter. And one of the upsides of Sonic 4 is that it's extremely generous with its extra life output. Like, ridiculously generous. Combine that with this game being so abysmally short, and it's pretty hard to get a game over on it. Not that there really would be any point to getting game overs these days, because it isn't an arcade machine. You don't have to worry about throwing coins into it to replay the game if you get a game over. You can just start where you left off, especially with the save file system. Now that you can select from multiple save files that you could in Sonic 3 in the case of Sonic 4, you only just have one to work with, and you start a new game, the old file is completely overwritten. But anyway, Sunset Hill, I actually call this Sunset Hill! But then again, there's a reason for that. We are here at Splash Hill Zone Act 3 with a beautiful sunset setting in the sky right there. Like, dude, look at that. If only the foreground was just as vividly detailed, but the background does kind of make up for it. Especially when you consider how beautifully done the reflection of the ocean's surface is. And the fact that we get a sunset setting in Act 3, and in the boss act. Which reminds me, there are a total of 4 zones in Sonic 4 Episode 1, and each has 4 acts in total. The first 3 are your standard acts, so that it kind of resurrects the 3-act formula that was used for Sonic 1, and then there's a boss act, where it also deviates from Sonic 1 in that it completely separates the boss from the 3rd act, resulting in a 4th act. And if you don't mind my saying so, the bosses feel, for the most part, uninspired, but I'll talk a little bit more about that later. So yeah, with the homing attack, you can use the targeting reticle to launch yourself at bounce pads, enemies, and pulleys, like that one we just taken a bit ago, to propel yourself across that area and make it all the way to the very end right here. So, like I said, pretty short, but a slight upside to Splash Hill is that you can explore it however you choose and still find your way to the goal. If some areas will give you a more, harrowing ordeal than others will. This is typically the case. You take the lower route and you have to work your way through a lot more obstacles, but for as long as you stick to the upper pathways, you can pretty much cut down on your workload. So we're just talking about the boss act, and here we are. In spite of what my decision to sing along to this song may suggest to you, I talked about the boss design feel uninspired. The boss theme is no different. Like, it feels... what's the word I'm looking for? I guess cartoonish or bland, whichever it is? I don't know. And they also feel somewhat confusing in terms of how you were able to score your hits against them. Like that right there just now. Like, with every boss, each boss takes 8 hits to beat. And you just saw me nail an 8th homing attack just as Eggman swung with a checkerboard ball that was largely iconic of the first boss in Sonic history, and yet the hit wasn't registered. Otherwise, Eggman would immediately die after that 8th hit, so I had to homing attack him a 9th time, so that the game would finally be like, okay, you've gotten the better of this boss. And I also did not mean to go into the next act right away, because we're not going to do that just yet. That's going to be saved for the next video. But, yeah. That's it for the Splash Hill boss. And the second stage, by the way, is Casino Street, but as I've already said, we're not going to worry about playing through here just yet. In accordance with my typical policy, I tend to stick to one stage per video, so that will do it for this opening video to the playthrough of Sonic 4 Episode 1. As short-lived as it was, I hope you enjoyed my experience of a Splash Hill Zone. Hopefully it was, hopefully it made for a lengthy enough watch for you, and if it didn't, well, not much can be done to help that because it is a short stage. And if you're wondering, yes, I will play the special stages and get the Chaos Emeralds, but similar to what I did my first playthrough of Sonic 4 Episode 1 years ago, I'm going to dedicate all 7 of the special stages to a 6th and final video to close out this series. That way you won't have to go digging through his playthrough to find all of the special stages and see me playing through them. Instead, they'll just be in a separate video. In other words, I plan to redo his playthrough in the exact same formula that I did for the previous one, only there'll be commentary involved this time, and I hope that you all are enjoying it. Unfortunately, no webcam, because I'm playing this on PC, and being a low-end PC guy, it lags when I try to run it in conjunction with Streamlabs OBS. I've already had to drop the game's resolution a tad so that it would be a bit more cooperative without the need for frame drops, so unfortunately I have no webcam to provide here, but hopefully the commentary is a decent substitute for it. That will do it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoy Splash Hill Zone, and when we continue with playthrough, we'll be going in a clockwise order. So the second video will have Casino Street Zone. Actually, now I think about it, no, we will be going in a clockwise order, because we were going clockwise, we had to make Mad Gear the 3rd zone, what is by default the 4th zone. So let me rephrase. Now we beat Splash Hill Zone, 2nd video will be Casino Street, 3rd will be Lost Labyrinth, 4th, Mad Gear, and 5th, the final stage and the final boss at Egg Station Zone, which is only accessible once you've beaten the 4 base zones. So, make sure to keep checking back for when I post my next upload about Sonic 4 Episode 1 concerning the Casino Street Zone, which I feel you will find a tad more enjoyable than Splash Hill, in my opinion anyway. Cause look at all the neon lights, dude. Woo! Colorful as heck. Anyway, thank you all for watching. If you enjoyed this video, drop those likes and comments down below, and to keep up with this series, well, I think you know the drill by now, but if you don't, hit that sub button and ring that bell to follow your boy as he goes through with his goal of playing literally every Sonic game on the planet, both official and fan-made. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time for the Casino Street Zone. Until then, peace. Blue Blurs for life. Take care.